Welcome to the SkillUp Show. I'm Rostin White, an account executive.
And I'm Caleb Malik, an account executive turned marketing director. Here on the show, we talk with individual contributors, those folks who are carrying the bag every single day. You're going to hear one actionable tactic here in the beginning that you can use today, and then we're going to talk about career wisdom that you can use in the future.
Yeah, excellent. And today we have Andrea Bowers, who has joined us to teach us all about being extremely resourceful while prospecting and while preparing for those prospect-facing meetings. And then we're actually going to explore her background a little bit in sales to uncover some valuable career wisdom that can help us all set ourselves up for a longer, more successful career in sales. Andrea, it's great to have you on the show, and thanks for joining us. How are we doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're really excited to have you on the show because Andrea and I actually met while she was deploying the tactic that she's going to talk about today. And, I've been selling for about 5 years, and I'm always really interested when I see something new and innovative and, salespeople like Andrea that are trying new things. So Andrea, let's dive right into your tactic.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really cool how everyone meets in different ways, and sales community, I'm really happy to be able to share this. So I don't really know how unique it is, but it's really helped me throughout my sales. So when I'm either prospecting or getting ready to go into a meeting and prepare and do my research, you can only go so far on Zoom Info or LinkedIn Navigator. And so what I did, or what I do to prepare for meetings, is utilize different resources within the company I'm going to speak to. So I specifically work with marketing teams, but that's how we met. Is I reached out to you, Ross, and just asked you for some insights on what the company does, a little bit of background information, a little bit of what to expect. So utilizing your resources, whether it be on LinkedIn or Zoom Info or whatever you use, to be able to just prepare yourself a little bit more. I also think it helps with personality. So a lot of people don't really want to talk to you, and some people love to talk to you. And by just showing that you did the research and did the due diligence, will actually get you a little bit further in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And just to quickly orient listeners, I'm an account executive within this company, and Andrea is prospecting into our company and actually has a meeting with the marketing department at the company I work at. And to her point, you always want to know and research who you're going to be meeting with. But she's going above and beyond and actually reaching out to the sales team at the company that she's going to meet with to hear in their own words, what do you guys do? Who do you serve? What industries are you selling to? Can you really explain to me kind of the nuances of, what you guys do, so that when she then goes and meets with the marketing team at the company I work at, when she meets with them to present her solutions, she has a really solid understanding of what our company does and isn't just taking it kind of like the face value off our website, which isn't always the most representative of what the job to be done, right?
But a little bit of that inside scoop.
What's that? Sorry.
You get a little bit of that inside scoop.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I love. Sorry. I was just gonna say, the thing I love about this is that, so we had similar sales experiences that I was selling marketing services, and I was not wise enough to think to do this, but I always found myself spending a lot of time in discovery, just getting like the groundwork, like who are your customer? Like you could find that stuff on the website, but you're diving in deeper. And I feel like you've already done a lot of that work by the time you're meeting with them, and you can get so much more out of that meeting because you have a lot of the background that you would have probably had to talk through with them before you got on the call.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but, it really just depends on where you work and, what solutions you have for your audience and your customers. But specifically in my situation is we help with being able to fuel the sales team. And so if I were to come to you, Ross, and say, hey, give me the information, what do I need to know? What do I need to get prepared? And you tell me this is not what you said at all, but, and you tell me that the leads are crap. We have problems with this. We need this. We have problems with XYZ, it gives me just a little bit more information that maybe she wouldn't, or he or she wouldn't give to me. And so just by preparing a little bit more of it, I really can help. I really can be a good fit.
Yeah. And I want to dive into this a little bit deeper. So let's continue on with that scenario. Let's say you get some really good, juicy insider secrets from that sales rep. How do you weave those into the conversation without I mean, how much do you let on to the marketer? Like, do you let them know, like, hey, I reached out to your sales team and they said these leads are crap and that's why I'm here to help? Or, I mean, how much do you like divulge as far as like what you know?
Yeah, it depends. It goes back to being able to read the personality trait, right? So if you can tell that they're giving you the information, they really want you to help, they have a solution or problem that you need solving, then, we're going to be honest, we're going to be transparent. I actually had this situation come forward. So an old manager of mine is now in the SaaS department, and we can dive into all that later, but long story short, he's the VP of sales at a company. And I went with him and I said, hey, how's your lead quality? What's going on with your leads? Like, how many are you getting a month? What's converting? What's top of the funnel? What's bottom of the funnel? And he gave it all to me. And so I was like, all right, so I'm going to go talk to your marketing team now. And he was like, yeah, they're great. They do such a great job. They've been, trying to figure out how to get us more quality or more quantity leads. And so I never got a hold of the guy, but I sent so many videos. Hey, I talked to so-and-so in your sales department. He said, you guys are doing such a great job supporting the sales team and trying to get in that way. But you can use it all sorts of different ways. You can say, hey, they said you're great, but XYZ or whatever the case is. I usually just say, kind of read the room at that point.
Yeah, that's really smart, because I think it would be a delicate kind of song and dance there. I mean, you wouldn't want to step on any toes or offend anybody, but it's also really valuable information. And so if you can figure out a way to present that without offending anybody, of course, if you can read the room, I think that's a really important aspect of this tactic.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely tread lightly, but read the room and it will really help.
Yeah, and I think it kind of plays into a challenger mentality. I used to work at a company that was Conversational Intelligence, and one of the features of that platform was being able to, obviously the call recording, but being able to take the snippets of the call. And I saw a rep while she was multi-threading into like a mid-market enterprise, upper mid-market account. She was taking snippets of the calls she would have with like a frontline sales manager, where he would basically say like, yeah, we don't have a great onboarding here. Like, this is our quota attainment here. She would be taking these snippets of calls and she'd be sending them over to the executive sales leaders and saying, hey, this is the words of your own team right here. And, this is how they feel about your onboarding, or this is how they feel about your sales coaching right now. And that's why you need our solution. And I think it just takes a certain type of personality to be able to do that. Like, I couldn't play that card. I don't know why. It just didn't work out for me. But she had a way with, I think it goes back to your point, being able to read the personalities and read the room in order to be able to do that.
I don't know if I go to that extent, but that seems pretty far for me.
Yeah, pretty forward.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. One of the other things I notice or I think about when you share this tactic is, when you're in those meetings and you are doing discovery and you are learning things, and maybe they are being very upfront with you about like, I'm having these problems and I want to solve this, like it often feels like you're kind of drinking from a fire hose. There's a lot of information and it can be, and people just expect, right? Because they're expecting you're the expert, that you're just going to have an answer for them. Like, oh, well then you should do this, and here's how we can help and do these things. But sometimes it can be a challenge, right? To be quick on your feet and think on the spot. So I feel like the work that you're doing there in the beginning makes it really easy to come to the meeting. And when they're like, oh, we're having trouble with like lead quality and here's what we've tried, it's like, you already know all that. So you don't have to take that information in and then be thinking about, well, how are we going to solve this for you? How are we going to help you? Like, you're just like, cool. Oh, that's so interesting. I've never heard that before. Okay, well, here's what I'd recommend. And you have that recommendation like ready to go.
Yeah, that too. And you can also, challenge them a little bit too. So you hear the problem in one ear and they might not be giving you the problem in this ear, and you already have a solution in mind. It gives you that opportunity to just, drop a little challenger sale in there and just be like, hey, have you thought about it this way? Tell me what you think. And it just gives you the opportunity to have so many different conversations, or so many different types of conversations within the one conversation.
Yeah, I love that phrase. Have you thought about it this way? I don't know that I've ever used that, but it's a different way of like, just think about this. Like, just let me put this on your plate, and I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not even making a recommendation, but have you thought about it this way? Because it's kind of how I'm thinking about it, and it makes them almost feel like, oh yeah, like just kind of start exploring it a little bit. It's a cool phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to imagine having some of that intel from that research beforehand and then showing up and maybe just teasing it out of your, your prospect, kind of like you said, like, about it, but maybe not being as forward with knowing about it. But it gives you an idea of, okay, this is where I want to kind of take the direction of the conversation. And I want to kind of use these types of questions to tease out this information, because I already know from talking to the sales reps that, this is an issue. So let's see if I can get them to kind of self-discover that issue and share it with me. So I think it's a really valuable tactic. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, for sure. I was just curious if you've ever run into, I could see, people hearing this and being like, sounds like a great tactic, but I'm concerned that if I reach out to this person in sales and that gets back to the person I'm actually talking to, that they might not like that I went around them. Have you ever run into a situation like that? Because I know, Ross, you've had things like that happen before. You went above somebody's head to reach out. Hey, nice to meet you, so-and-so's boss. And the person you were actually selling to was like, I had not told my boss about this yet. So like, thanks for doing it. Like that happens, right? Like, and maybe it's in a very small percentage that doesn't matter. You lose that deal and you win a bunch of others, but just kind of curious what your thoughts are or what you've noticed there.
Yeah, I think it just depends on the situation, right? So specifically with this conversation, this exact situation, I was talking to the marketing managers, and I think the CMO would have been like 1 or 2 levels up. Ross, I know you had mentioned to me that you're an AE. So going to you, I was fully honest of like, hey, I'm coming in with, I need some help. Tell me what's going on. What is your company about? What do you do? And then it gives me a better idea of what's going on. And then based on the conversation with me and the marketing team, I can then establish, well, is she going to be cool with me saying, hey, I talked to, Ross? There's not necessarily a problem with it, because marketing is doing what they can to fuel their sales team, right? So they want to get the sales team the leads and as soon as possible. And Ross, without going directly to his marketing team and saying, hey, these leads are either great or these leads are not great, like, we need some help here. So without him actually going through, I'm kind of playing the middleman without actually stepping on toes, I guess. It's like, hey, I'm here to help, help me help you.
Yeah, cool. So it's a great tactic, and we'd love to kind of shift and talk about your career and kind of what you've learned thus far and what you can share with folks who are earlier on and trying to do some of the things that you've done. And so I noticed one of your kind of earlier roles was actually with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and so you've kind of transitioned the type of sales you're doing, the type of things you're doing. I would be curious to hear, I guess as a first kind of question, what things did you learn early and learn then that you're still employing today?
One thing I would really say that I've had throughout my career is, even with the different industries, is just being able to actively listen. So, even when someone's and having really like the compassion for what they're saying. So, and rent a car. I'm in the parking lot trying to sell them insurance. They don't care. They just crashed their car. They want to go home. They want to go get their kid. Just by being open and listening to what they're saying has made me successful then, and then all the way up to now, by being able to actually have the listening and have those long conversations with the customers, and really dive in without prescribing right away what's going on. It just, 1, shows that you're human. 2, you're really just trying to help solve a problem. And so I'd say that's probably one thing that I've kept throughout my whole career. Another thing I would say is, I'm not afraid to ask for help. And that's kind of brings me to the tactic, like, you can't be afraid to ask for help, whether it be internal or external. So if it's going to be a successful tactic to help you become successful, don't be afraid to ask for help. And so, yeah, I'd say that's probably the 2 biggest things.
It's one of the things we've heard a lot as we've talked with folks on the show, from kind of both, and we've had people who have been doing this for 15 years, that sort of thing, and they talk about it from the other side, where you're typically getting the help from is the the more senior rep or the leader or whatever, where they're like, I'm happy to help, I'm happy to. So sometimes I think it's like, lean on the people around you, and you're gonna have a lot more success.
Yeah, I think that's a really important aspect of sales. Like, if you come from a genuine place of, I want to help, I think that's always going to be received really well by prospects, especially, I want to partner with you and help you. I have to ask, is buying the insurance add-on worth it?
Oh, that's tough. So
we can edit this out, but I just have to know.
I am going to say yes, as a purchaser of the insurance, not as the seller of the insurance, or former seller of insurance. I say yes, because one, I'm in Colorado and we get hail the size of softballs in the summertime. So that pays for it. Like if it happens, you don't have to worry. Two, I'm a pretty safe driver. My husband's a safe driver, but I do not trust anybody else. And even a small ding, I'm not paying for it. So I always say 1000% yes. A lot of people will say no. My dad's a huge stickler on that, but I'm like, I'd rather pay the extra. I don't know what it is now, maybe like $20 for a day. I usually don't rent a car for that long anyway. So I'm like,
it reminds me of the movie Meet the Fockers, where they like throw something and it bounces off the RV and like smashes through the car window, and then the dad is like, well, good thing you got the car insurance, and he's like, nope, I opted out. Like he didn't get it, you know. That's just funny. All right, sorry. Back to career wisdom and your story from sales.
Yeah, I guess the other question, or the next question I was going to ask is, you made the transition from enterprise to Lexus Nexus, right? So that's like a very different thing to be selling, and it's also it's like, you know, I see legal solutions consultant for 1 to 2 attorney firms in California. So you're like working with attorney, like this is very different work. So like, how did you make that transition? How did you educate yourself on that? Like, what did that all look like?
So it was definitely a challenge, but I never thought enterprise was going to be the long term for me. It was great out of college. My mom was the one who actually was like, hey, enterprise hires people right out of college. I needed something and wanted something. I've actually worked with people in enterprise who are like, I've been here for 17 years and I'm never leaving. So, it was always like on the radar for some people. It was never on that long-term radar for me. Transitioning over to Lexus though it was a challenge, that's for sure. But I mean, if you don't take challenges or risks, like you're never really going to get anywhere, right? So I was terrible in high school and college with like history and all of that stuff. I found myself in the first week at Lexus having to reteach myself like a whole bunch of history. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what did I sign up for? But it was really cool. I've never actually had conversations or really discovery calls with attorneys before, and they're humans just like you and I, just like when we talk to marketers or our ICP or personas now, like they're just humans. So that was actually really fun. The one thing I do miss being in the SaaS world versus being in person is I'm not in person anymore. So I'm a huge advocate for Zoom calls or video emailing, anything like that. But yeah, it was a challenge. It was super fun. And it brought me into the tech space. So I was really excited and thankful for that.
Did you just apply online, or kind of what was the process to getting in the door?
Yeah, so this is by no means a LinkedIn plug, but LinkedIn helped me get the job. So I did apply through LinkedIn, and because of my sales experience and just by being able to have the conversations and reading the room, I think that's really important, being able to understand your personality traits, because attorneys was difficult. I mean, you'd have some really nice older gentlemen that have been doing law for 50, 60 years, and they just want to make it easy, and they have a really great you'll have a really great conversation with them. You'll have guys that just open their practice and they don't want to give you the time of day, but guys or gals, but it was a lot of fun being able to just have those conversations, and it was a challenge, but it was a really fun situation.
And were you doing, you said you had to like reteach yourself a lot of things. Were you doing that like on your nights and weekends? Was that part of their onboarding like training program? Like I think about the young, just getting into that first, whatever. And I'm trying to get my bearings. I don't know how to learn the product. I don't know how to like what were you doing during that stage?
Oh man. So this was actually also my first work from home. It was right at COVID, or just like end of September or end of 2020, middle of 2020. And so it was all new. I was working from home for the first time. I've got twin toddlers running around upstairs. Like I'm losing my mind. I don't know what to do. And they gave me a like an onboarding or a sheet, said, this is what your onboarding is expected. Something happened where I ended up being like 2 weeks ahead of everybody. So I was like, wait, I'm putting way too much pressure on myself. Like it was during the day, it was during onboarding, during work hours. And so I was learning all about, like the different types of law and going all the way back to transactional versus, I don't even remember it now, but the different types of law. And so it was a part of their onboarding to self-teach and watch the videos and learn. And then once you got into the products, they were a little bit more hands-on. And then that's when we had our territories and we sold to, me specifically, it was 1 to 2 attorney law firms. And so from cold outreach all the way to the close of the sale, it was 1 to 2 attorney firms in California was my territory.
Listed on your LinkedIn, it looks like you spend some time outside of, the 8 to 5 working on maybe like other certifications. Did I see a HubSpot certification on there? And if so, like what's the driver behind doing those sorts of extracurriculars, if you will?
Yeah, so I have actually, before this role, I've never used HubSpot. So HubSpot was really new to me. I really love how they have the certifications that you can go in and take, marketing certifications, regular HubSpot certifications, just learning the platform. But even I don't have a marketing background. So coming into Rock, having to learn a whole new industry, again, just applying myself, working hard and taking those certifications in order to just establish more of a baseline to be able to have conversations with marketers. So I really think that that's really valuable, but having those on there just to make yourself 1% better every day.
And how are you going about getting that collaboration done? Especially, working remote and that sort of thing. Like how's your team working together and sharing that information? Because something I feel like even established sales teams, even established organizations, they don't necessarily always do well.
Yeah, I think we're doing really well. And that probably, I know it starts from the organization's values. And so that is one of the values, is that we're going to teach and we're going to learn and we're going to grow from each other every single day. And just by having that set as a standard, it really pushes each of us to reach out. I mean, I've already expressed that I'm not afraid to ask for help. I will ask anybody that I need to, but being able to offer it when I feel it's needed, or even just we'll have meetings, and it's a really good team that I'm a part of right now. And we are not afraid to ask each other for help. We're slacking each other every day. We have meetings multiple times a week. It's a really good organization and a really good community that we have just within this small North American sales team.
Yeah. So if I was going to just kind of like summarize the whole career wisdom that we're pulling out here, it's okay, or it's beneficial to get out of your comfort zone and explore new industries. And then if you have that mindset of always wanting to be able to help your prospects and your buyers to the most, you really need to dig in and learn that industry and be kind of that subject matter expert, right? So Andrea talked about going and relearning the history to speak with attorneys and lawyers. And then when she moved over to more of a marketing persona, like doing the HubSpot inbound marketing certifications to learn those buyers, and so that she could show up as a subject matter expert and genuinely help them. And then it sounds like to not be afraid to ask for help yourself, right? Like you're in a new situation, you're putting yourself out of your comfort zone, and it's okay to ask others for help. And if you're in that collaborative environment, you should receive the help you need and be able to. Everybody should be able to kind of rally around each other and find success.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You summarized it very well.
I like to tie a nice bow on it at the end for listeners. It's just like a
Perfect.
pull all of the most meaningful things out that I felt that really tied together there. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We had a great time talking with you. Got a really, really nice tactic that listeners can go ahead and take and like put into action tomorrow. So go and do that. Anybody watching or listening to this, go and start doing that tomorrow, and start using this career wisdom, because it was excellent. Thank you, Andrea.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Andrea.